Hey team, Angela here. In this video, I'm going to go through, should I buy an RTO? We often get asked this, should I buy an RTO or should I set up my own RTO? Buying an RTO seems so much quicker, cheaper, and you can get training a lot quicker compared to setting up an RTO. But from our experience, it can be a big risk. So you really need to identify, well, what is the RTO you're buying? What's on its scope of registration? What have they done in the past? And what skeletons may be in the closet? So the biggest risk of buying an RTO is you don't just buy the registration. You also buy any or all non-compliances that RTO may have committed in the past, what they're aware of and what they may not be aware of. You need to make sure that you understand what are those skeletons in the closet and whether that's a risk rating that you want to take on. So what we have found is we've had people who have come to us following buying an RTO. Let me give you an example. We had a client who came to us who bought an RTO, and when he bought the RTO, so this is before he came to us, he bought the RTO, he kept on the previous owner as a trainer assessor. So he thought he'd be fine. But what happens when you buy an RTO, ask or identify that your RTO is at risk because they want to see that the new owner of the RTO is a fit and proper person. So they come out and conduct an audit of that RTO to identify whether you are a fit and proper person to be running that organization. So this is what happened to this client. They went to an audit. So he thought, I'll be fine. I've got the trainer assessor. The previous owner is working for me. He's going to come through the audit with me. We won't have any problems. Now, just on a side note, this RTO was delivering training in an area that our client knew nothing about. So they didn't know anything about the qualification. They didn't know how it should be delivered. They didn't have any experience at that, which is okay, except for when you're going to do an audit and you should be over all of this. So they went to the audit. They came out of the audit critically non-compliant, which was around assessment tools, around how they're delivering their training and assessment strategies, and the trainer assessor, the previous owner of the RTO, was also non-compliant. So then they decided that they would do the rectifications for this audit. And they did. And it came back as critically non-compliant. Now, this time, ASQA sent them a letter stating that ASQA have an intent to shut down the RTO. This is when this client became our client, because they came to us and he went, I'm going through this. I don't know what to do. I've got to go to tribunal now. Can you help me? And that's what we did. This is very time consuming and it takes a lot of money, and it also is very stressful for anybody to go through. It took 2 years for the whole process to be resolved. So going to audit, doing the rectifications. So 2 years after buying the RTO, he still had an RTO that he didn't really want to deliver him. So in that time, he could have set up a couple of RTOs. 6 months later, this client came along to one of our courses. He came along to the RTO compliance and the assessment validation workshop. In the workshop, after the first day, he said to me, Angela, I wish I'd done this course before I bought the RTO. Actually, in fact, I wish I had hired you guys before I bought this RTO, because I have gone through so much. It has cost me so much money that I really wish that I'd had some expertise on my side when I bought this RTO. So in summary, buying an RTO can have its ups and downs. You really need to look into the RTO and make sure that it's going to meet your requirements. It has the qualifications on the scope that you know that you are able to deliver. It's in the location that you want it to be, and that there's no skeletons in the closet. So you should conduct a due diligence of that RTO before purchasing. That's very important, that you really need to go in and have a look at that RTO before you buy it. You should also identify whether it would be easier, quicker, and less time consuming for you to set up your own RTO, where there's no skeletons in the closet. You've actually built the training organization and you know what's within that organization. Because you don't want to be on the other side where you've bought an RTO that ends up costing you more than it would have if you just set up your own. Thanks for listening.